Muted.
You're muted, Seth.
Say, guys, welcome everybody.
All right.
Welcome to the Great Transition, where we're talking about what's going on in the world through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah. These two guys, close friends, are over there in Israel. I'll see you guys soon. I'm over here in the United States. We're all longtime students of the Kabbalist Michael Lightman. And we're looking at what is going through the world, what is going on, the transformation of humanity is going through that lens. You know, when a person first comes to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, you guys can corroborate this with a little nod of the head, and he finds the authentic texts. He gets some kind of gift, some kind of special illumination. He gets an uplifted feeling. Everything starts to make sense. He gets some spiritual understanding. That's called that it comes from above. And then when he gets the books and he finds his teacher and he sits down and he starts to learn, he starts to build a very practical, ground up understanding of who he is. Like, what is this ball that I'm standing on that's spinning almost 70,000 miles an hour? I don't know how many kilometers that is, but it's very fast around the sun. Our planet is the size of a speck of dust compared to all the emptiness in space. There's our sun is one of billions of trillions of stars. Ours is just one, and there's no evidence of any other sign of life out there. So what the heck is going on? Who am I and what I'm doing here? And you open up the books of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and he talks about two things. One is from above, from the light all the way down to us, and the other one is called from above to below. The other one's called from below to above. It says, the Kabbalists say, let's start with what we know down here. There's the ocean, the dirt, the lowest level. Then comes plants out of that. Then comes animals out of that. And then eventually comes man. And all of those four levels, they all wake up in the morning and have to sustain themselves. So there's nothing that unique about the human struggle except the fact that we're constantly telling ourselves stories. We can make, we could put human voices to some sea turtle. A mama turtle gives birth to like 1,000 eggs. She builds a nest, gives birth to 1,000 eggs, and they all hatch and run to the sea, and they start getting picked off by birds. They start getting picked off by crabs. They make it to the ocean. They start getting eaten by fish, and then to even make it to the point where they can become big enough to survive. It's not a simple story. So you could put that next to, I don't know, someone who grew up in in downtown Detroit, and they, were dodging bullets on the way to school. And then, we're not alone in having.
You are comparing now people living in Detroit to sea turtles. You realize
it doesn't have to be Detroit. It could
You're
be
gonna get
Kabul.
canceled. We're gonna get canceled. Seth.
It's fine. I'm trying to talk in a very objective way. It could be Kabul. It could be New Jersey. The point is that the human is not unique in that he has to wake up every day and fight to survive. After about 3,000 years ago, something happened in humanity. Now, there was laws in ancient Mesopotamia before this time, but this thing called the Bible, called the Torah, comes and starts to organize the life of a group of people that were living there originally in Babylon, and then they moved to Canaan, and they moved around back and forth to Egypt and around. And it doesn't just give like case law. It starts to say, you should do this and you shouldn't do that. You should, not just what happens if a person does murder, but you shouldn't do that. You should eat that. You should marry like that. You should many things about what to do with your crops and your wealth and all kind of things. It even has a law that says love your neighbor as yourself. It's an actual law. This legal framework becomes the structure of Western civilization based on that whole thing that happens there. So literacy, education, family, medicine, charity, they take this primitive, savage world and start to organize it because of this thing called the Torah, because of this thing called the Bible.
You know, I don't think it's that obvious to, at least to the younger generation growing up in today's world, just how much our current civilization, modern Western civilization,
I was just thinking that
is shaped by this Bible. First of all, the Bible is the most, if I'm not wrong, it's the most distributed, easily the most famous, most distributed book ever created. Why? You know, that's interesting. We're talking billions and billions of copies in so many languages and so forth. And the whole infrastructure of human culture relies on that in terms of how we relate to each other, to nature, to the world, and so forth. I'm not saying that the connections they have changed over the years, but so much of what we have today originated in that. And so that's, you know, whether it doesn't matter whether you have religious affiliations, or you're more of a secular person, or you believe what it says, or you don't believe what it says. Our culture, human culture, is based on it, largely based on that. And that's just, I don't think most people even know it. Young people.
Or not, if it's not based on it, then you have some kind of attitude towards it. You either for it or against it. Yeah.
So amongst all of those primitive humans, there was a group, and everybody here is somehow connected to that group, who said there's something else being transmitted to us here that's not terrestrial. So inside of this Torah, this Bible that came down to humanity, full of all these laws, there is what's called an upper light that is clothed inside of that Bible, inside of that Torah, what seems to us like a book of legends and laws. Now, you may be the first time you ever heard something like this. It's a garment, like I have a jacket on. That book is somehow a garment for the life force itself, called the upper light. Now, if you're hearing that for the first time, you'd say, what the heck are you talking about? But hang with us for a minute. This is what the Kabbalists are telling us that they discovered behind all these legends, behind all these laws, which in and of itself, like we said, became the foundation for Western civilization. In addition to that, all those words and all of that knowledge, chokhmah, is some kind of jacket, is some kind of clothing for this light called the light of Ein Sof, that's clothed inside there. And the Kabbalists are the ones who, beyond the customs and the cultures and the laws and the legends, they made contact with the life force that's clothed inside there. So what would be great is if we can all figure out, how do we make contact with that infinite light? Because if you remember, what are we doing in this universe? What are we doing here? If we get out of our just normal day-to-day hubbub for a second and realize how insignificant this little piece of consciousness on this little blue ball floating through space amongst billions of trillions of stars, how do we make contact with this infinite life force? So let's go to a clip of our teacher, the Kabbalist Michael Eitman, and then let's open this up. That what does it mean that there is a light clothed inside the Torah?
All right. Observing Torah and mitzvot in the sense of what's written in the Torah. And the true form of that is the correction of the soul. Our soul has 248 organs, 365 tendons, it's 613 parts, 613 desires that we have to use the screen with an intention in order to bestow, to correct. What were you saying, Seth?
We hear the audio, we don't see the video.
Ah, you don't see the video? Chris,
No.
you see the video?
Not saying it either, no.
Huh. Weird. I'm seeing it. Okay, let's try to replay.
Maybe in the stream? No, it's also
Also
While you're looking for that, hello to Frederick in Kenya. Hello to Lingo in France. Lawrence is asking about 7 layers down. Okay, maybe you're on to something there. And he's in North Carolina. Maybell in Mexico. Lawrence in Ontario. Hello. Hayes. Oh, Hayes, I haven't seen you in ages. Good to see you, Hayes. Michigan. Mira. All right, Dewey's here. Julie. Carly in Pittsburgh.
You know, there's also something
Let me try now.
Okay. I was trying to kill some time. Go.
Let me do it like a thumbs up if you can see it well.
All right.
Observing Torah and mitzvot in the sense of what's written in the Torah. And the true form of that is the correction of the soul. Our soul has 248 organs, 365 tendons, it's 613 parts, 613 desires that we have to use the screen with an intention in order to bestow, to correct them with the complete work in order to bestow. That's the work we need to do on our soul. Now, from our soul, in each and every one, there's only one black point. When a person tries to achieve the correction of the soul, then the soul begins to open itself up towards the person, and the person begins to see a little bit of the 613 parts. He begins to see this whole complex of the sum total of all his desires in coarseness level root, level 1, level 2, meaning it becomes deeper, more detailed, more refined and complex, and the system becomes clearer and stands out more, right? Like how a baby grows and his organs grow, or even in an embryo and then becomes a baby. And in the similar way, our soul shows itself to us according to the screen that allows us to work with these organs, these desires, in order to bestow. This is called carrying out Torah and mitzvot, and that's what we need to achieve. Now, the people who come to that are the people who have an inner urge to correct their soul. When does that happen? After beastly development, man comes to a state where this point in the heart is on fire in him, and the soul begins to demand its correction. And before that, a person goes through a time where he lives for thousands of years in all kinds of beastly desires, until he begins to feel the desire for the correction of the soul. All right.
Whoa.
Amazing.
That was clear.
The correction of the desire for the correction of the soul. How do you even know that you have such a thing?
I think I want to tell our viewers first that if they find themselves listening, going like, what was he just? What was he just talking about with all those organs and tendons of the soul and the screen and the intention and the 613 parts and all of that? If you're asking yourself, what the hell is he talking about? I think you're in a good place, because now you understand that what we think of as the Torah and the mitzvot, like this book of laws, is talking about something completely different than what we think. And it's about a system of the correction of the soul, the development and evolution of the soul as in a systematic way. And even if you don't understand any of the words, you can hear, I think, that there's a system that's being described here. And we think about it as, we think about what's written in that book as a system of all kinds of things we should do with our body.
Or like some huge long family tree that's also not clear.
Right. So yeah.
It's like my mom also just recently. I mean, I grew up like pretty hardcore Christian, and so do my parents, obviously. And what you said earlier, it's not even clear how human society, they don't even recognize that that's what it's based on. It's like, you wake up in this world, and that's just the way, it is the way that it is. It's passed down from grandparents. But even recently, my mom specifically, she's like, I don't know what. I just feel like I need to like read it again, and there's like something there. It's just not clear. I think we're just kind of like in a time, where even if you don't have this like burning fire of this point in the heart, like our teacher here said, at least, Seth gave this example of the garments, and there's like a very spiritual. I mean, even if I don't want to like go in this direction, but there's something about like having garments and then wanting to know what's underneath the garments. There's something that's very appealing when you can kind of start to see that something is hidden from you. You kind of have to go see. You kind of have to like check it out. I think we are kind of in this period where that is kind of interesting to a larger part of humanity than it was in the past. Before, you just kind of like following. Yeah, I'm reading, I'm doing. But then when it starts calling you and from behind the garments, then it becomes you're able to like hear something different. Okay, organs, tendons that tell me, interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's try to really kind of unpack what we just heard here and what we're really talking about. Because when you read the Bible, you think you're reading about history, geography, biography, power struggles between groups of people, right? And what we just heard from our teacher says what? It says that everything written in that Torah, in that book, is not about what we think. It is about something called the development of the soul. But it looks like history and biography and geography. So what's happening here? Right? So I think let's maybe lay down some like a basic important principle from Kabbalah, and then we can kind of go deeper with it. And that is that everything we read in that book is written in coded language. That language describes the spiritual development of the soul, but it uses words, but there's no words in spirituality. So it uses words that come from the projection that appears to us from that deep spiritual eternal space. We now exist in a state called concealment, where the whole of reality is distorted to us. We're like a person who has his eyes closed, and imagine that all our senses are now blurry and fuzzy. That's where we are. We don't really know where we are. Think about a baby in the mother's womb, right? You grow in concealment. All of the development of the baby happens in concealment from the outside world. Similarly, our soul is asleep right now. And what we think of as history is actually a collective dream that we're gradually waking up from. What we think of as geography, what we think of as anything that we experience in the physical world, is our fuzzy, distorted, fragmented, limited perception of reality that hides what is truly out there, let's say. Now there's another. Okay, let's pause there.
So there's a common feeling that probably everyone has, that I have a body, and inside my body lives my soul.
Right.
Okay, this is how, and you can, Dr. Kanga, we see your comments here. It's helpful to see them, and we always are wondering how technical we should get on what level. So we'll try to push the boundary a little bit. We don't, unless you guys are talking to us, we don't know what level everyone is at. So We're born feeling that I have some intuition inside. I have some other part of me inside that has dreams, that has hopes, that is as if my soul or something like that. Now the wisdom of Kabbalah says, what does the wisdom of Kabbalah say?
There is no soul in your body.
Or let's
There
say
is
there's
no,
a seed of a soul somewhere.
it's also not in your body. This is something I think we have to go all the way
Hold on,
here
you
and explain things the way they are Kabbalistically. If we really want to talk about the true meaning of the Torah, the true meaning of the Bible, what's really in that book? Because not a word that is there is talking about our physical world. It is a word that comes from the projection of that appears to us from the reality of the soul. What were all of these, the geography and the history and the biology and the physics of this world that we think of as things that exist in our world, including our body and the particles we're made of, and all of that picture of reality, these are inner, deep structures of the soul that appear to us like that because we can't perceive them in their true sense. And these spiritual structures exist above time, above space, but we perceive only a very limited, fragmented, fuzzy perception of them. So it's the same. There's only one reality. It's a spiritual reality and eternal reality. But the concealment that we are under makes us feel as though we are a body that lives in a limited life cycle and has. Okay, you know what? Um how deep,
Well,
how deep can we go? The why do we see it as a collective process? Maybe let's go from this direction. Like why does it seem like the Torah speak about nations and groups of people and the different wars between them and the different ways they lived, things like that? It looks like, let's say it's about your soul or my soul or an individual soul. Why does it sound like the history of humanity in some way? That's the basic framework is the history of humanity. That's what it sounds
and if it's
like.
all my soul, why is there also a world outside of me?
Exactly. Okay.
mhm.
So we live, I would go, help me out here, but I'm going to try to take a direction here. We live in a holographic reality. That means that every person is on the one hand like a screw in a giant system, but all of that system is a single system. Yet each screw, each person, let's say each individual, also contains a model of the whole inside himself. Now look at nature. Look at nature. It sounds weird. It sounds like, what are we talking about? Look at nature. Look at every cell in your body. Take a hair cell, take a brain cell, take a muscle cell, take any cell. It has in it what we call DNA, which is essentially the blueprint of the whole thing. In every cell in your body, there is the picture or the blueprint of the whole body, and that cell is only expressing itself in a unique. It has like a unique expression of that blueprint.
Okay.
Now, what are we humans? We are a single creation, a single entity, and we were each looking at it from a unique perspective, let's say. So that whole soul, that the entire world outside of me, what we think of as the cosmos, including the planets and the stars and the plants and the animals on planet Earth and the other people, of course, all of that is me. It's mine. It's the soul. It belongs to me just as it belongs to Chris and Seth and anyone else, but we were each like looking at it from a limited, unique point of view. And the whole development of the soul is, for me, my development or Chris's development or Seth's development is to reconnect myself with that entire singular collective entity, which is also me. So the one and the many are one. And that's something, again, I said DNA. You can see this in fractals in nature, right? You look at a coastline, for instance. The same kind of shapes that you see when you zoom in or when you zoom out from either outer space are similar. You look at a broccoli, you see the same thing. Nature is full of these fractals, meaning there is information in a single unit or in a small scale. There are patterns that repeat themselves in greater and greater scales, and essentially it's the same pattern. And that pattern of the soul, Kabbalists refer to it as 10 sfirot, and that's what they're talking about. But they don't have the words for it, because there are no words in that realm of
But
that master pattern. So
why do
they
they even need
use
to?
words. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's just why, like, what is like looking at the Bible? I'm just trying to think, like, what does that do then? Like, okay, I'm looking now, or I'm reading about the blueprint. Seems like if there was going to be something special, I'd be looking at like, this is how you become see a unfuzzy reality. Right now, it just seems like you've kind of described, what happens through some development. But it's like if I want to learn something, I'm going to learn the basics, and then I'm going to go intermediate, and then I'm going to become advanced, and I'm just going to learn more and more about the system. Here, it's like it's just showing me about. You're just showing. It's like I'm reading a book, and then I like, what do why that kind of why that?
Yeah, I would even say you're not supposed to read it. You're supposed to be impressed by it. You're supposed to read your own soul through it. The our idea of reading a book is very different from, the what reading a book means kabbalistically. So that's another problem. Here's a thought experiment for us, okay? Just because I feel like that point is not completely, to really try to drive it home. Imagine that that you can combine all of the lifetimes of all the people who ever lived. Let's just go with whoever lived. Let's forget the future, okay? Even though that's included there as well. But let's say all the people who ever lived, right? For thousands of years, a lot of people in humanity have lived their lives, and they each went through many different feelings and sensations and good things and bad things. Some of them joined wars, and some of them did other things. They went through different insights. They had different knowledge. They collected all kinds of experiences in every second of every day in every lifetime. Now, combine all of that knowledge together, right? And now, all of that knowledge, imagine that it exists in each and every individual, right? We have no access to this reality. But that's the kind of reality that we're talking about. And when we access the soul, we understand that all of history and all that ever happened between peoples and nations and every little all of that is included in the master pattern of the development of the soul. And that's what the Torah is really about. So the real creature that we are is a spiritual entity containing the combined experience of all of humanity across all of time and all of space. And we just, at the moment, all of that totality of experience is hidden from us. And what we can get from it right now is only my specific day in my specific lifetime in 2026, when I'm named this kind of Asaf or whatever, and I have this kind of story. And what I'm actually doing is I am contributing my participation in a specific fragment. But ultimately, we're all putting together that combined a creature. When you access that, you literally go above time and above space, because all of that experience is already included in the reality that you're accessing. Think about how, there's these holograms. I I don't think I ever saw this in real life, but I saw videos of that where put people in a stadium and they show a hologram and it looks 3D, but it's actually like a 2D thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it looks 3D, right? So but it's 2D. It's like it's a video of sorts, but it's projected in such a way that it looks to us like it's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So we what we see in the concealed version of reality is like a 2D version of it, and we don't see the depth of it. But we're in the same reality. It's one place. There is no life and death and this world and the next world, this world and the spiritual world. There's just one reality, but we perceive only the 2D version of it.
Let's make it even more simple for everyone to understand, because we're talking about things that are very difficult to comprehend. Everybody, think about it like this. You're in a room with a cat listening to a concert, or you're in a hall listening to a concert with a cat, right? So it's obvious in that situation that the cat is not seeing the same reality that you're seeing, even though you're both there. Forget about the cat. Take a 5-year-old kid to a concert. Even if he hears the music, even if he's moved by the music, he still does not have the experience that you have. Now, the difference between the cat to you is a fraction of the difference between the normal human and what the Kabbalist is talking about. So how can that be? First of all, just take that statement and just put it somewhere on a shelf in your head and just leave it there for a minute. That the difference between, let's even go further, the difference between dirt to a plant, right? There's a leap. Then from plant to an animal. Then from that cat to you. And then from you, meaning where we are as humans today, from where we are today to the place that the Kabbalists are talking about, that inside the Torah, we can now touch some light inside of there. It's not talking about, when we look at that book as talking about laws of the world, and you shall not kill, and you shall not eat this, and don't do that, and do that, and all the stories, that's like us on the level of a cat. And what the Kabbalists are touching inside that book is like the level of a man. Now, people are asking questions. What about all the other people? What if I see bad people outside of me? And it sounds to me like you're saying solipsism, right? This is where everything is based. Solipsism is everything is based on me, right?
Solipsism is an idea in philosophy that essentially you can't prove that there's any other reality outside yourself.
Okay, and fine.
Yeah, okay, let's stay with
fine. Now, try this on. I'm talking to everybody out there, Dr. Kanga and everyone else, I'm talking to you. You feel that inside your skin is you, is Dr. Kanga, and outside his skin is the rest of reality. That's how we feel today, right? Because we're defining our reality based on the cat level of the beastly level, like Rav Lightman said in the clip we watched, the animal level of our existence. Now, when we start talking about the soul and start talking about the light and start talking about the degrees of our soul, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida, you have a skin, which you put food into a couple times a day, and you rest, you give it some rest. But when you start talking about our soul, which is in contact with the light, and when you talk about who is myself, and the only thing I can measure is myself, true. But now yourself is not only what's inside the skin. You start to include more of reality inside of the boundary of the soul. Great. Now we start talking about what is the light versus what is this carbon-based reality of the body. And one more thing, and I hope you guys can tear this open and run with it, is that in order to understand these things, with the physical mind, understand that the physical mind will only ever be able to understand the beast level, the cat level of reality, because he can only see what he sees. So the first thing we need to do is just hear these things, try them on, and then we get these little drips, like mazalot, like these drips from above that come in and enter inside of us, and we start to feel that there is more than we felt before. And then we go back to living our life with our brains and our normal life and scrutinizing things. And we get another drip and we start to feel that there's got to be more to it. And we're talking about building a perception of the soul, saying that inside that Torah is more than just stories and legends, is more than just rules. There's some kind of pathway to get to the light of Ein Sof, if we can say that.
The operating system of reality, if you will. That's what's really encoded in that book. The light, in other words, the upper light, meaning the force, that the thought and the force and the mind that drives all of reality. It's the operating system. Because what is it? It's the correction of creation, the development of creation, or the development of the soul. There's really just one collective soul, the one creation that was created, and it's developing from concealment to revelation. I thought about when you were talking about it, kind of about the process from below upwards, we call it in Kabbalah. I was thinking that maybe it'll be helpful to think about ourselves as like about this world, the physical world that we're in, with history and geography and so forth. This is like it's like an allegory that we are living in. What does it mean? That why do we have in our world day and night? Why does the process of birth look the way it looks like? When the embryo, there's a drop of sperm that goes into the uterus, ultimately the uterus develops there in the womb, an embryo and so forth. Where do all of these laws of nature come from? Why is our body built the way it is? In all of its different pieces and organs and so forth, and all of that complexity. Why do we have 5 senses, right? Where does all of that come from? So that comes from a deeper structure of reality, and the Torah details that structure. What we perceive in our world is how that structure appears to us in a 2D version within time and space, in a limited, fragmented, distorted, fuzzy perception. So we, for example, feel like we perceive the world through our eyes and our nose and our mouth and so forth, but they're actually different layers of desires of the soul that currently we experience them in a very limited way. This is called in order to receive for self. We are not unlocking the full potential of those desires, and so they appear to us as an existence in a physical body that perceives reality like that. But it's not that we are in a physical body, in a physical world. It's that our soul currently feels its existence as a physical body that lives and dies because it's dreaming. Our soul is dreaming right now. And it's like a collective dream that we are gradually waking up from. And to discover what? To discover that we are living in eternality, in an eternal reality. So the whole process of spiritual development, it's not a process of moving through time. It's a process of awakening. It's changing phase from concealment to revelation. And in that change of phase, time disappears also. And it becomes revealed as an illusion. As, by the way, something that a lot of mathematicians and even Einstein said that they can intuit from their investigations of the physical world. And Kabbalists explain, of course, they see that when they try to investigate what time really is and so forth, because when you get to the limit of this reality, you are like on the other side of the eternal reality where there's no time and no space.
If someone if a Kabbalist had the desire to do that, which he wouldn't do, but if you open up the book of Zohar, you can map out, without opening up without being a surgeon, you can map out the organ systems inside the body. You can
Which is
map
what,
out.
first of all, you have to say what's the book of Zohar. If you're already talking about the Torah, what is it? Why are you saying now Zohar? Like, what's the
Okay,
connection?
so we're talking about people who made a lot of exertion on the degree of human to get into to reach that light, and they had to come together. They had to a number of them had to unite together, and in that collective consciousness, I don't know if that's not the word they would use, but in that collective desire, through that effort, they were able to reveal that great light that was clothed in there, and they wrote about it. Now, if you're an adult, you can't talk about adult things to a child, because the child doesn't have those desires and those vessels to understand what it's talking about. And even if you did write about those things, the child would not be able to know what it means or feels like. So we can read the book of Zohar. Until we reach those things, we won't fully know what they're talking about, but we can already see, how do they know about the universe? How do they know about the movement of planets? How do they know
Mhm.
about movement? And we're not talking about, there was other great civilizations that pointed things at the stars and measured things, and in South America, how they set up temples for around the equinoxes. We're not talking about counting for hundreds of years and then calculating it or measuring things. We're talking about studying or attaining the upper light, and from that perception, understanding the matrix, understanding the framework for the entire reality that we're inside of. So by studying this, by entering into this physical perception, which the Zohar uh, details, they were talking about what's going on inside the organ systems of the body. They were talking about what's going on inside with the movements of the planets. So you start to.
And ultimately, the same goes for history and geography and everything. All the structures of our world, they are branches, copies, low level, low resolution, bound by time and space, reflections or projections of eternal structures. And that's why there are certain nations in our world. That's why the earth looks the way it does. That's why continents are divided the way they are. That's why there's a group called Israel that a lot of people in the world feel there's something weird about them and they don't know exactly why. That's why all of the dynamics that are happening in our reality come from the development of that collective soul, the structure, the inner structures of it. And in our world, they just appear to us as a place we are in, where things happen in physical space. But that's just a kind of a projectional dream that we were in.
I don't know if you want to get into this, or whenever Seth was talking about the writers of the Zohar and they're sitting and they're somehow doing something together. And then after this effort that they're making together, they're able to achieve something. It reminds me of like the TV. I don't know. There's less maybe these days. Everything these days is like maybe it feels a little bit more superficial. But I don't know if you guys remember Captain Planet, when they all had like different rings. You remember this, Seth? I don't know if you guys ever, you don't remember Captain Planet? I know for sure. Doesn't matter. A lot of these like superhero based shows or even movies, some kind of entertainment where like each person has like a different part, and then it's only whenever they combine their special unique abilities are they able to create some, the real superhero that can come and actually save them. I don't know, like Power Rangers or whatever. If you don't know Captain Planet, then I can't say it, but I guess we're gonna have to end pretty soon. But it's interesting that we have to stay. We touched on the idea that you have to like be in this body. You have to have this like incorrect view, fuzzy world view and perception. And then from that fuzzy, you have to be in it. You have to like, it's like you have to have the binoculars in order to look over there. If you don't have the binoculars, then you can't look and see what's over there. It's like you have to step into this body from the fuzzy perception, and only from that incorrect perception are you able to come to the correct perception. Then all of a sudden you're introducing other people, and it's cool. It's like you're combining this hologram. It's like, hey, you come over here, you come, let's get together. And then all of a sudden you have like this special tool that when you connect the pieces, you're able to see something of the whole.
Yeah, we would have to talk more about, and maybe it's time that on the show we start getting more technical.
Yeah.
We've always kept it at an entry level for everyone who's joining, but we may have to start getting more technical to be able to describe some of these things, because with that language we'll be able to have more freedom of movement. Guys, there's a question here by Maria Sosnowski, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Do our thoughts create our reality? Well, first of all, Maria, whose thoughts? Where do you think your thoughts come from? Are they your thoughts, Maria? Or, if
who creates your thoughts? That's the question.
Where'd your thoughts come from? But let's, with that in mind, that Maria, first of all, your thoughts are not your own thoughts; that they're floating through the air, and your brain is more like a
receiver
phone that picks up, a receiver that's picking up signals in the air. But let's say your thoughts are your own. Guys, do thoughts create our reality?
You see, I mean, the issue with this kind of thinking is, it relates to a lot of people. They're interested in the idea of thought creating reality, manifestation, right? Like, if I think of something, that it manifests in my world. And this is I'll just say it bluntly, a very childish way of thinking about how the world works. Because why childish? Because it comes from our attempt to create something in this world. When you ask, do our thoughts create reality, what do you mean? You mean, can I create something in my fives that it will appear in
let's think of it in the most noble way. Let's say, does what I think about affect what I perceive? Does what I think about affect the forces that I experience in my life?
Our thoughts definitely have power and virtue and agency, much more than we think. But they're not designed to change the physics of this world or anything in it. They're designed to help us move up from the concealment called this world to a higher level of perception. If we learn how to direct our thoughts and use them as the right environment for our desires to grow, you can use your thought to amplify and focus certain desires in you that will, as they grow, unlock the spiritual reality to you. But you can't use your thoughts to make a Lamborghini appear in your backyard. You can try, and some people believe they can, and maybe that too has some sort of an effect, because it's a single reality. There are levels of thoughts in this reality too, where we are affected by each other. It's all an interconnected reality. But generally speaking, do our thoughts create reality? Our thoughts are designed to help us change our perception of reality and raise.
Well, now after this show, I'm gonna have different thoughts, so that already sounds a little bit
exactly.
more...
That's yeah. There was one thing I saw in the chat. It's like it threw me on a tangent, but maybe it's Julie wrote at some point there in the chat when we were talking about the holographic reality. She wrote, it sounds like you're talking about an AI model, and that's actually cool. I know we promise this will not be a show about AI, but here, this maybe I'll go on this for a minute here, and then maybe people will also understand what gets us excited about AI. We're in a time where we're preparing as a collective species we're preparing. We're not there yet, but we're working towards, in this century, we're preparing towards revealing the holographic reality. And what happens in our world as a result is that the technologies we develop, because what's technology? Essentially, it's means of connection between us. But our technology represents our desire to overcome the limitations of time and space. That's really what's the soul of technology is. What is the drive of technology, the behind technology? And so what we're gradually creating are things that bring us closer in thinking about this holographic reality. What is the internet? Which is a very new invention, right? This virtual space that we're all connected to, we're all in. And essentially, when you're online and I'm online and everyone is online, everyone has theoretically an equal connection to that cyberspace, and we're all connected and interdependent there all the time, above geographical space. What's AI? When you take knowledge of humanity and you make it accessible to the individual, the collective knowledge of humanity. We are creating these things in our time, and there will be more and more of that, because we're getting closer. It's not that technology will bring us closer to spirituality. Our inner development, the closer we get to the awakening of the soul, the more it begins to look like our technologies are similar
The
to,
actual
like,
soul.
the passageway between where we are in the physical world, divided by space and time and geography, to a reality where we're all connected and everyone has everything that everyone else has simultaneously. That's what's really happening in our world. That's what I find this exciting. But of course, Seth and us, I think Chris is with me on this. We're always debating on how much should we talk about AI and things like that on the show. So
we're going to have to talk about it much more in
want
the
more
coming
of
years
that, then Seth is
as
to blame.
robots and everything starts to happen. One more mention here from Dewey. From Dewey Uri. How many thoughts am I receiving, and where are they coming from? Just a good one. So, Dewey, if you're really into motorcycles, notice how much time during the day you're Googling around for motorcycles and thinking about motorcycles and looking at motorcycles. And if you're really into woodworking, think about how much time of the day you're thinking about woodworking. Our whole our whole business here is about our desire. That's actually going to be the seat of our soul. Depending on what we desire, there's for all of you who like the technical stuff, thoughts come out of the desire. So depending on what you desire, your thoughts are going to serve that desire. So if we can now somehow increase the desire to reach that light, our mind will run to figure out ways to get us there.
It's also this cool it's also this cool, like, bandwidth idea, like, you're thinking about motorcycles and all of a sudden you see more motorcycles. You're like, now all of a sudden your available bandwidth. I don't remember if Asaf remembers the actual details of it, however many bits of information the brain can focus on at one time, whatever you see, with your eyes. And if I'm really into this one motorcycle, all of a sudden I'm seeing that motorcycle way more often on the road. That's this, like, reality that you're able to build. If you focus on one thing, not only do you have thoughts, but you're even maybe you're seeing, if those motorcycles were always there, but all of a sudden you're seeing those motorcycles appear in front of you. You really are building, like, a new perception of reality. And the same thing can happen with, do I want to find the soul? Where's the soul? How do I build it? Then the whole world kind of around you starts focusing in a different way. And that's a work.
Friends, we love seeing your comments here. You can see that lately we are more interactive with it. We see that a lot of you have been here for quite a while now, and you're interested in interacting with us and guiding these conversations. We're into hearing that. I think for us, we need to do a little more work of getting more technical. Sounds like a lot of you are interested in getting deeper after a couple years of talking about things at a surface level, maybe we can now penetrate even deeper, and we'll see how that goes. We'll be back next Thursday, 2 p.m. I am so grateful to be have friends like you guys and to be able to talk about these things, and looking use our let's grow our desire, increase our thought towards revealing our soul. We'll see you next time.